Hello and welcome to the CUFI Weekly. I'm your host, CUFI. Okay, so today we're going to take a step back to May of this year. If you remember, that was when Hamas started firing rockets at Israel, and Israel defended itself, and we saw one of the largest and vocal and violent backlashes against Jewish communities globally that we've seen in modern time. Right here in the United States, we saw people attacked in New York, LA, and Florida simply for being visibly Jewish. Now, why am I bringing that up now? As the noise and the comments about that conflict have slipped out of the news and died down, there's a few things I wanted to point out. Firstly, while the media, while the influencers aren't talking about that conflict, they're not talking about Hamas, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad are still firing rockets at Israel. Just in the last week, we've had multiple rockets fired at Israel. Thankfully, the Iron Dome, which is an incredible testament of the US-Israel friendship, was able to intercept those. We're still having incendiary balloons being sent over. Just a few days ago, we had a terrorist attack where Israelis were stabbed in Jerusalem. So yes, it may have dropped out of the media. Yes, it may have not been virtue signaled by your favorite influencer. Violence against Israel and its citizens is still happening. So don't forget that. But what I really wanted to touch on was our Jewish community right here in the United States. While the anti-Semitic attacks have kind of died down a little bit, they're still happening. While people aren't talking about it, you have to think, how are they feeling right now? In May, they saw their neighbors, their friends, in a country that they call home, turn on them for what was happening in the Middle East. When a terrorist organization was attacking the Jewish state, what did Americans do? Some Americans, they lashed out at the Jewish population here, attacking people, synagogues, and the absolute hatred we saw on social media was disgusting. While that happened months ago, we have to remember that those Jewish communities are still reeling from that. Their worlds were definitively changed in May of this year. And that's why it's so important that we continue to stand with Israel and the Jewish people, even now, and do it vocally. Because yes, for us, life went on, but for so many Jewish people, life changed in May of this year. They saw hatred which had remained pretty much under the surface. They saw hatred which replicated some of the worst historic anti-Semitism at times right here in the United States. And it was seen as acceptable. You didn't see mass condemnations. You didn't see big corporations standing up to anti-Jewish bigotry like they have to other racism, rightly so. No, there was complete silence. That is a huge problem. That is immoral, and that is not what we stand for as Americans. So this week on The Weekly, I just wanted to remind you that it's so important to, even now, regardless of what the news is telling you, regardless of what the news is not telling you, we need to stand with Israel and we need to stand with our Jewish neighbors right here in the United States of America. They need to know that they are not alone. They need to know that there are over 10 million Christians who stand with them and stand with the people of Israel. And they need to know that no matter what, for us, never again is a promise and not simply a slogan. So no matter how strong the hate gets, no matter how bold the haters act, we are stronger, we are bolder, and we will do what is right. So until next week, speak out, stay strong, go check on your Jewish friends and neighbors, and for Zion's sake, do not remain silent. It's CUFI for the CUFI Weekly. Thanks for checking out today's episode of CUFI Weekly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the latest news from the Middle East along with topics involving US-Israel relations, please be sure to like and subscribe. And remember to click that notification button so that you are notified every time a new show is uploaded.